This is the Mobile Tech Podcast, brought to you by worldpodcasts.com. Now here's your host, Tech Girl, Miriam Joie.
Brought to you by Mint Mobile. Stay tuned for a special offer at the end of the show. Hi, and welcome to the Mobile Tech Podcast. I'm your host, Miriam Joie, and today is Thursday, October 23rd, 2025, and I've got the excellent TK Bay here with me. Hey, TK, how are you?
I'm doing good. I'm trying to get over some hangover from coming back from Shanghai, but yeah, doing okay.
Yes, I am just fine, to be honest with you. I mean, look, it's evening. And so I'm like, it's a bit weird for me to record in the evening, to be frank. I mean, I have to use artificial light. You guys probably see my ring light on right now and stuff. But hey, you know what? You were available, and that's all that matters, because there's so much good stuff to talk about now.
Like, quite a bit, yes.
We have so many phones right now, and I'm kind of juiced up by that because even though it's been kind of nonstop and crazy and hectic this year, like the good stuff is starting to come out now. Because I hate to say it, like the summer stuff was okay. I'm glad we got the iPhones. I'm glad we got the Galaxy folding phones. The Pixels, of course. I've got a Pixel 10 Pro XL in my pocket with a SIM tray because it's a Canadian model. I win. But
you have to rub it in. Okay.
Yes,
okay.
But the point is, the exciting phones with the new Snapdragon and Dimensity chips are all kind of trickling out. And I want to start with the first one that I have zero experience with other than looking at specs.
Okay.
And that's the Vivo X300 Pro with the Canon. I like it. I call it a Canon. Like the Oppo has it too.
It is a Canon. They brought it down from the Ultra side from last year, the X200 Ultra.
Yeah, it's interesting that we're seeing so much happening in that realm. Like, in fact, it's interesting we're seeing this to me because, like, last year was all the some of the Ultra phones had that, right? Like, I think the Oppo Find X8 Ultra had it, right? Maybe as an accessory.
Not a first party accessory like the way Vivo's been doing. I think
Vivo had it definitely on the Ultra, right? 200
Absolutely.
Ultra. And then we had, of course, Xiaomi had an accessory kit as well.
Yes. So the
Did
camera
that have
accessory,
a lens though?
No, it had camera rings. So it had ring attachments. So you're able to basically buy lenses and maybe try to attach, not lenses, filters. There was no lens on that. They had a concept
it's the
phone.
old system. Yeah, the concept.
So
I remember.
they had a Xiaomi 15T concept phone that had a magnetic lens. That
at
attached to the pack,
MWC, we saw that.
and that was at MWC. So we saw that briefly, and I honestly thought we were going to hear more about it around the T series launch. But so far, those are the two that kind of came in with like lenses and trying to. Oh, and of course, Realme. Honorable mention to Realme at MWC.
Yeah, they did
as well.
the thing with
they did the thing with the manual.
But I'm talking
lenses
about real phones, right? Like, forget Xiaomi and Realme because they were just prototype concept things. But like,
very much.
So we've seen the Canon before, and that was really a Vivo thing. Is basically
it's a Zeiss and Vivo collaboration.
And then you're right, Oppo's was a third party, but it was available somehow in China or something because I remember seeing that.
China gets the best stuff. Come on, we know.
Of course. Yeah. But here's the good news. We got some of the good stuff. And you've got the X300 Pro with the Canon, and I've got, and you too, the Oppo Find X9 Pro with a Canon. So
say that 10 times fast.
I know. It's like, especially after saying Vivo, like it's all BBK Group formerly. So what are your thoughts? Like, I know you can't talk too much. We're not allowed yet to talk about the Oppo in the
So conversation around the Oppo is going to be a little bit, I'll say vague at best. I'll say that.
But I'm just saying it's hard because they're so similar. BBK Group formerly, right? And so also
they're similar, but
same
they're also
processor, Dimensity 9500. The display sizes are the same. The camera specs are almost identical.
Almost, yep. No, I think the biggest thing I probably will say, it's going to come down to the color science. How do you like your images to look? How do you like your videos to look? And I think that's where Vivo shines, and they've been shining for years. This isn't the first time. I got into Vivo and loving Vivo tech since the X70 Pro Plus, and I've been a very big fan of the X series for years, and even the V series I've actually been picking up pretty well.
Same.
Like the 9500 as in SoC, the Dimensity 9500, the first two devices. I mean, it's crazy to say this. Okay, technically, the X300 Pro, the one I have, isn't even launched. The launch event was for the Chinese. Yeah, it was for the Chinese model. It wasn't for the global. But Vivo was cool enough that they allowed us to have the global version And of course, not putting any restrictions on us allow us to do the coverage for it, because they've kind of brought in the global and the Chinese variant very close to each other. They run basically a unified operating system now. So they used to have FunTouch. If you're familiar with Vivo globally,
yes, I am.
We all knew about FunTouch. FunTouch was FunTouch.
It was strangely named, let's say.
Well, but it was also strangely and we saw that also on iQOO devices, right? Because Vivo and iQOO are kind of like how OnePlus, like how Oppo is with OnePlus and Realme. That they're related very closely.
Indeed.
So they've shifted their approach to unifying the experience by going to Origin OS 6. Origin OS 6 now brings in, you may like it, you may not, but it brings in a little bit of iOS-ish, a few aesthetics in there with the glass effects and so on, but essentially unifying the OS experience. We no longer have, the China version. The only big difference between the two, obviously, is going to be a few apps that are a little off. And then, of
batteries
course,
might be different in some countries too. I
yes.
think some of EU is getting the smaller 5440 milliamp hour, and the default in China, which also in some global markets will actually be a big, but it's not as big as Oppo. Or we think OnePlus is going to deliver, or even Realme. So I'm wondering why that is, because Formula BBK Group, you look at all the specs. I'm literally looking at them right now on GSM Arena. Thank God for GSM Arena and specs. It's like I'm looking at them. It's like this might as well be an Oppo Find X9 Pro. I mean, other than the battery size and a few minor little differences, it's the same freaking phone.
Hardware. So the hardware, this is where, again, I think we've gotten to the level, or at least the point in time now, where software is becoming so much more of a player in the conversation of which device, which company you go with. Going back to the not just
color
the collaboration,
science, as you said,
it's the color sign. Absolutely.
Yeah.
Zeiss and Vivo have been doing absolutely fantastic. Leica and Xiaomi, absolutely great. Oppo and Hasselblad, amazing stuff. So there's a lot of different, those collaborations have been going for years, but it keeps getting better. We saw that obviously, Oppo renewed their collaboration with Hasselblad recently. I was lucky to be there during that event in Sweden. And then we know obviously Xiaomi still working with Leica, and then of course with Vivo we get Zeiss, and it's just beautiful. The lens, the Canon, as you refer to it, fits so naturally into the environment of what we need to do. They've changed the UI now so that when you attach the camera, the option to turn on the lens, because you always had to go into the settings to try to turn on the extender and then select it. It was never easy to jump in on the X200 Ultra.
Right.
Here, it's directly within the UI. You click it and you jump into that camera, and you have basically almost like a replacement to the 200 millimeter focal length that you have when you go to the most zoom option that you get on the default UI. And it's optical, it's clean, it's clear, it's beautiful, it's crisp. And you have 3 additional ones to jump in up to 1600. And it's crazy. And it has some stabilization that even handheld, you can take some amazing shots with it. So and it's really nice.
It augments the 200 megapixel just like it does on the Oppo, right?
It's intended for a single lens use. It's non-switchable. You can't move it to another lens. It only works with a telephoto.
Right. And
it requires that toggle so that it inverts the image, because of the lens. When you attach it, it inverts the image naturally.
And you get 10x basically native, correct?
It's 3.25x is what's listed on the lens itself, but it is equivalent to about 10x extra from the furthest focal length that you typically would have gotten from the camera. It just multiplies that by 3 additional stops. Takes you all the way up to 1600.
Right. So what I'm saying is that without the Canon installed, it's 3.7x. Yeah. With the Canon installed, it's 3 times that. So roughly 10x.
Exactly.
Okay. So similar to what Oppo is doing, as far as we know.
Similar. I can probably say it's slightly tighter than Oppo. Like with Oppo, is a little bit of wider field of view on the mode. I mean, you can obviously zoom in beyond that point, but from an optical standpoint, when you attach the lens, you're using images, it's slightly tighter, so you get a little bit closer to the subject.
And just to be clear, everybody, again, we can't talk too much about the Oppo specs or anything, but we can, show you pictures, and we can.
It's based on and that's why I'm able to say
device
as far as the focus
bit, like in terms of showing you. Last week I unboxed the device for those of you on my Patreon. In case you don't know, there's a Patreon with a video version of this podcast. If you're listening on audio with Patreon, you can get it a day in advance for $5 a month every week. So it's a kind of a cool deal. Patreon.com/TNKGRL. So yeah, look, I think this is an interesting thing, but clearly, realistically, you're not going to carry this Canon with you in your pocket. Like, I mean, like, what's a use case for this?
So, with the exception of the fact that I normally I would have said absolutely, but okay, so I'm a father. You guys probably have already seen this on the channel. Like my son's getting older. He's part of band. He performs weekend. Like this weekend, we have a performance for a competition that they're going to. As a performer that plays in a football field, and they're typically very far from me, a telephoto lens with such an extension, a Canon extension on it, is invaluable for somebody like me. And I said that in my video because I just posted my video review late last night. I was working very late to try to get it out in time for us to be able to chat because I knew we were having a conversation. And it's so good.
I mean, I get that.
It brings it in, but the carrying factor was the one thing I said in the video. I wish there was a carrying case. So
to be clear, folks, in the show notes, there'll be a link to TK's review video. You should check it out, the Vivo X300 Pro. And I agree that I think if you're going to have a moment of intentionality, like you're going to a show, you know, and you're going to need the zoom no matter what, right? Like that
Absolutely.
10X is essentially going to be your minimum. You might as well mount the Canon on there and just kind of go, I'm just going to call it it's so good. The Canon.
It is. No, I know. It is a Canon. It's not Canon.
Totally
the camera,
like, it just feels like you have like
comfort.
just a gun thing back there. Anyway. So yeah, I think in that sense, it makes sense. The problem I have, and I can't speak for Oppo, you can maybe correct me, but on some other phones like the Oppo, you know, once you install the adapter in the case and stuff, you're obscuring the other cameras, and you can't really use them because even if you didn't obscure them, like in the sense that if the adapter didn't cover them, you would still see that barrel sticking out, right? It would interfere with your photos.
If it was there, I mean, and the same goes for the V300. If you're trying to switch over to any of the other lenses outside of the telephoto, and the Canon is connected, you would still see it in the image because it's just it's obviously it's large
so big,
enough that
right,
yeah, exactly.
So, you know, I have not received an X series Vivo phone since I think the X80 or the X90. So I'm about 4 years behind because they went to 100, then 200, now 300. So I'm about 3 or 4 years. I think X80 is the last one I got. And I don't know why. Honestly, Vivo and I talk, they send me V phones from time to time, the mid-rangers, like V series. But I don't know why. I've requested the X and I just don't get them. I think that, you know, maybe they don't consider the podcast because I don't do video like you. And, you know, it's hard for me to pitch this to review. These Chinese phones are really, the bread and butter for me for Chinese phones is my podcast because a lot of the publications I write for don't want to cover Chinese devices, right? Like China, not China only, but in general, Chinese, you know, Chinese brands, even if they're global phones, it's kind of a hard sell, which sucks. But so maybe that's why. But I'm not worried about it. I'm pretty satisfied and busy enough with what I have. But it's really great to get your perspective on these because, you know, so what's the Dimensity 9500 like? Is it fast? Are you happy with it?
Okay, so the 9400 was already crazy fast. I was a big fan of the 94. I lived with the 94 for many, many months, and I really appreciate it. Never tried the 9400 Plus, although technically it's just an overclock. But the 9500 for me right now, not just benchmarks. Benchmarks, obviously, it stacks very well to the 8 Elite Gen 5. There's no question. It's a powerful flagship device. For me right now, the biggest surprise that I've had, at least on T-Mobile in the US, the V300, the X300 Pro runs so good on T-Mobile. I'm getting sub-6, 800 megabits down. I'm getting better reception in building with T-Mobile that I've ever had before. Performance is really like stellar, like snappy, jumps at it. They've stepped up the performance and I'm loving it. It just, everything is great. I mean, again, the 94 was amazing. I've used Chinese phones with it. I'm appreciating that Oppo leverages using Dimensity and MediaTek technology. Not that there's anything wrong with the Qualcomm variant because they still use them for their Ultra, right? Like both Vivo and Oppo keep the Qualcomm variant for their Ultra side. But from the Pro side, I think it's great to have opportunity to be able to check out like these processors. Samsung used them last year as well in their tablet with the S11 last year, the 11 Ultra.
That's right.
It's already proven itself. So the 9500, a champ. Great radios, great performance, absolutely stellar. And of course, Vivo stacks this up with 16 gigs of RAM, 512 gigs of internal storage.
Yeah.
We have video out. All of the bells and whistles that you can imagine. Gaming,
wireless charging, high speed, regular charging, high speed.
Exactly. Yeah.
So that's what I'm saying. Like, if you look at the spec sheets, at least the specs that have been, guessed for the Oppo, other than the battery, they're so similar that I'm like, I think you're right. It's all about the software and, the color science and these little details like that. Like, you're right. When I had the X series phones, I was a big fan of the Zeiss color science that they were using, and I'm sure it's gotten way better. I feel like the 9500, there's no doubt it's going to be great. I had 2 podcasts ago, I had one of the folks, Siegfried from MediaTek, who's one of the people in charge of the 9500. We went through all the details. And, I'm excited because the Oppo has that chip. We know that's an official thing. And, we'll be able to tell you more about the Oppo next week, folks. So stay tuned for that.
The launch event, I think, if I'm not mistaken, it's already been announced for next week. So it's
correct. So
it's not too far.
It's coming on the 27th, which is Monday. So
I think it's the 28th.
Okay, so Tuesday then.
Monday or Tuesday. No, same thing. Yeah.
It could be Monday. For us, it's Tuesday.
Yeah.
Because. Or the other way around.
It's the other way around.
It's Monday for us because it's Tuesday for them.
Yeah.
But anyway, my point is we'll know very soon, and I will cover it in great depth because by that point, I will actually have played with it. So far, and I want to transition to the Oppo and what we know so far. So far, you saw my unboxing last week. The phone, the Canon, the adapter, the case, which I love that it's a magnetic case. I love the fact that it's built ultra thin, aramid fiber case. Great.
Carbon. Yeah, love it.
And you'll get photos from me throughout next week, but I haven't really had a chance to play with it much because I've been really busy with a bunch of other stuff, and it's hard for me to really play with a phone too much until all the software is finalized too. I believe that we just got a software update, so I'm kind of waiting for that to settle. Kind of gonna get to that.
So that's the case itself on. Mine has a lot of fingerprints on it, but it's thin.
It's great.
Just absolutely fantastic, and the camera stack.
So
on the back.
we've got that, but I'm going to link to a story from Tech Radar from one of the UK editors there, who has some sample photos, and you can have a look at them. They're really quite lovely, and he compares Canon on versus Canon off. So, for example, 10x using the native 200 megapixel, where it's cropping the sensor and all that, versus 10x where you're not cropping the sensor because you're using that adapter that 3x is the 3x. And it's really interesting to see, there's definitely a slight difference in color. The white balance changes a little bit, which is weird. You'd think that they would compensate for that because they detect that you're mounting the adapter.
Lens.
So
yeah.
So I don't know. I think perhaps this is also, why I'm waiting for the software because, the folks at Oppo told us there's some software coming.
Okay.
And that's not unusual. Like when we get review units early on, folks, we get a lot of software updates before the final version that you guys get in the stores. And sometimes you can see some serious improvements. And that's okay. That's why I like to wait a little bit.
For sure.
So anyway, the Oppo look, it's interesting to me that they're not so more differentiated in terms of hardware, the Vivo and the Oppo, especially since they have a Dimensity 9500.
Well, they're distant cousins now. They're not. They've always been cousins under the BBK brand.
But there was, back in the X80, X90, there was the gimbal. There was some major hardware differences back then. Yes, at the core, they were flagships. Of course, they had the best displays and the best processors you could get.
Yes.
But, there were some variations. And I kind of feel like, we're going to see more phones. In fact, we're going to talk about the Realme in a second with the 200 megapixel 3x telephoto. That seems to be the thing. Everybody's going away from 450 megapixel sensors, right? The ultra wide main, a 3x and a 6x at 50 to a single telephoto at 200. That's 3x. And it'll be interesting. I don't know if I'll have time, but somebody is going to make a comparison between the Oppo Find X8 Pro or X8 Ultra, and it'd probably be fairer to compare the Pro with the X9 Pro because it has the 250 megapixel telephotos. And is it better at 6x, right? That would be my ultimate test. 200 megapixel at 6x, is it better than native 50 megapixel at 6x?
I think it's. I'll say this: once I think our main coverage of the launch on the X9 Pro comes out, there'll be some comparisons as well on my side. At least I know my comment section for the video was like, we need to see a comparison between these two because it's the two dimensities, the two big.
I mean, they're the closest, right? They're the closest.
Mm-hmm. For now, they are. Yeah.
So stay tuned for a bunch of Oppo stuff. Go check out TK's X300 Pro review with the Canon. Awesome stuff. And speaking of kind of related, so we're in the BBK world here, formerly. OnePlus, obviously there's some more. Again, these are, kind of officially kind of mentioned things on Weibo by some of the official OnePlus CEO and stuff. So we don't know if the US model we're getting is going to have these specs and these things. But here's what we kind of know so far, right?
Yeah.
We know that it's got a Snapdragon 8 Elite Gen 5. That's a known fact.
Well, I was going to say, but that's also kind of along the line of what they've been doing for many, many years.
I think we know it's going to have a 50 megapixel 3x telephoto.
Oh, okay.
I think that's something they just announced. Again, this is for the Chinese model. This is OnePlus official CEO from China. So apparently it's 350s. That's what we know.
Okay.
We also know that the display is a high refresh rate, like 165 hertz. And we know that...
I don't doubt that part. Yeah.
And then we know that it's got a big battery, 7,300 milliamp hour. And that's pretty awesome. Having had a bunch of Realme phones with 7,000...
Realme has already broken that barrier last year with the 7 Pro. I mean, we already have 7,000s on the market.
And mid-range phones too. This is what makes me excited about the cheaper Realmes I've gotten, like the 15 Pro and stuff, is that I've gotten phones that are like $350 that have 7,000 milliamp hour batteries, and
2 to 3 day battery life is a thing. It actually is a thing.
It's not just a thing as in like it exists. It's a thing as in like we want it. Like it's really awesome, right?
Like you can pick it up.
I always say this, but I think a lot of people underestimate the fact that combine that with fast charging, you no longer have to charge every night like we're used to. I mean, that was already the case anyway with 6,500.
No, for me personally, I don't charge my phone.
I never do.
I do not plug it in. I wake up in the morning, plug it, and it's done before I have to get out the door.
For those of you, I agree. For those of you who are like, I don't know about this, trust me, once you have a phone with that kind of battery, forget it. And also, not only that, but now you can set the max to 80% all the time because you're saving your battery. You're not going through a full cycle when you charge. If you set the max to 80, and if you don't get it die like completely, like maybe plug it in at 20% or something, you're still going to get 2.5 days of battery life, and you're not going to waste your battery cycles.
Exactly.
It's the best of everything, and then that fast charging on top of that. Like I think it's great.
I think it should be the norm. I think there's one thing that we are
but
behind
it's not
on
like
the market.
Apple, Samsung, and Google have already come out saying that they're not convinced silicon carbon is the way to go. And I'm like, what are you smoking, guys? Like, are you nuts?
It's like, it's one thing to say that, we don't believe in this tech, but then the other guy is like, hold my beer, dude. Let me just show you how we've been doing it for years. I mean, Honor uses it now. Obviously,
my point is they have been doing it for 3 years, and we have now data. We have stats on how these batteries are holding up.
Exactly. It's not a new invention, new type of tech. But at some point or another, they'll see the light and they'll convert over, and then they'll invent it. They'll basically say, well, we finally decided.
For sure.
I'm waiting for
Apple is going to invent it. Yeah, you're
invent the silicon carbon. Till then, obviously, it doesn't exist in the US. But we're lucky enough to be able to play with technologies like that. But I think I also champion for the fact that what OnePlus and Motorola do, because those are the only two carriers or two manufacturers at least that still
in
somewhat
North America
support
right now.
in North America that support fast charging,
and silicon carbon. I might add.
Yeah, absolutely. It's the biggest part of
nothing as well. By the way.
Nothing. Well, yeah.
Although their battery is relatively small, it's a single cell.
Yeah.
It is a silicon carbon battery on the Nothing Phone 3. And more importantly, it charges at fast charge, not as fast as 120 or 100 or 80, but it charges at something like 60 or 55 using a standard PPS PD charger, which is kind of nice. Absolutely. You don't need to buy their proprietary charger, which I think is cool.
Well, I was about to say they don't include one, but yeah, you have to buy it separately. Yeah,
But it's nice because you can just use an Anchor or something and it's fine.
Oh man, yeah. Anchor battery chargers are
I love
literally
Anchor.
the best. I love them.
I've got Anchor everything. Thanks, Anchor, for sending me all the good stuff.
# not sponsored, but thank you very much, Anchor.
Yes, exactly. So, here's what I'm really excited to kind of finish our coverage of ex-BBK, formerly BBK, the Realme.
I do want to make sure we don't forget about this guy.
Which is?
The X300, le bébé.
Oh, yeah. You have the regular one. I didn't expect that.
Yes.
Oh, well, okay. Do compare. Tell us about it.
So here, okay. So I don't know if you guys, okay, we'll bring this guy into focus and let's bring in the other guy. So here, these are the two Vivos that launched in China. Well, that were at the launch event. There's the X300, le bébé here on the left. And then, of course, the big brother here, the X300 Pro. Obviously, there's a big difference in size, but there's a lot of similarities in performance, camera size.
You know what I really like? Actually, I just want to point out that this is the big difference. This is, again, expected specs, like what we have gathered, and so rumors and leaks at this point, that the Oppo, the smaller one, the X9, the Fine X9, has only got a slightly smaller display. Like it goes from like 6.8 to 6.6 or something, right? But this X300 has me excited because it's 6.3. It's like iPhone 17 size.
It's a tiny, cute little small phone that like it fits you in your hand. You can actually reach the other side. There's I look at this and I feel like at some point this used to be a phablet or this used to be a massive phone for us, like back in the old days, right? When you compare it to the original Nexus and stuff. But no, there's a few cosmetic differences. We don't have the side activation button that we have on the X300 Pro. The battery, surprisingly, which we didn't get a chance to touch entirely on, there is some type of it's the technology that is used for the battery, and that's what's causing them not to be able to sell the big one. I think what's going on for Vivo, it's because they're using, I think it's a single cell that they can't go so high. That's one of the regulations in certain countries.
That's right.
That's one of the reasons why the EU, and depending on the country, you're not getting the 6,500 milliampere battery. You're getting a 5,440. Such an
and
odd
Oppo
number.
and OnePlus are using dual cell, and so is Realme.
They've been doing that for years. It's their bread and butter. So it's technically smaller batteries, even though at the total number is a higher number. It's still two smaller batteries. And the Vivo on the coincidence that I have in here, on the left side here with the tiny one, this has a 6,000 milliampere battery, where the big guy only has a 5,400 milliampere.
Well, only in some markets. So yours has a 6,500, right?
No. So this is the European model.
You don't have the global, you have the EU. Got it.
They considered it the global, but they gave us the EU model primarily. I guess they felt like that would work the best.
That's interesting.
The real nice thing as well is obviously we have eSIM support, wireless charging. But the small guy, even the Chinese model supports eSIM now. They're including eSIM in the China market, which is new. Chinese that is phones. Very, yes. Typically, we never get that for the China model. So bigger battery. India is definitely getting the 6,500 milliampere. So outside of Europe with the EU part of it, I think generally that's going to be the main standard. It's 65 and 6,000. So a small form factor phone with a 6,000 milliampere battery, like this tiny with 6,000. Imagine how long this thing can last.
But you know what's interesting? 95. What's more interesting to me is that you look at the camera specs and you do still have 250 megapixel and one 200 megapixel, but they're swapped around. The main sensor is 200 megapixel apparently. Am I right?
It's a slight different.
The 50 megapixel 3x is the telephoto, correct?
Yeah. And I think the biggest thing also that a lot of people will appreciate is even the small one has a Canon. There's a camera kit. Yes.
Is it a separate camera kit or is it the same camera?
No, it's the same kit, but made to work with the smaller.
Like the case is different.
So the case is different. The ring on the side is.
Have you tried swapping the Canons? Are the Canons different?
I don't have. So they didn't give us the photography kit for this one. They only gave us the one for the X9 Pro. But at the launch event, in the video, I have a few pictures. Actually, in the unboxing, I have more pictures of the camera kit. That one is more of a turquoise blue, like more of a light blue color. And it does the exact same thing. It has the lens itself is actually turquoise. So it's very aesthetically pleasing. Plus that one had a pink version of it, which Isa loved very much. Isa Rodriguez.
Of course. We love Isa because she loves pink and I love pink too. Purple is more my thing, as you can see from my bandana right now. But pink, yes.
But yeah. So yeah, they're treating both the 300 and the 300 Pro with a lot of love, a lot of kit. There's even supposedly a special edition X300 Pro that's a photography bundle that includes a carrying case. Like there's even more than just the photography kit. There's a next level that also was even more special edition for people that want to,
So do you get a grip in the camera kit? Because the Oppo apparently doesn't have a grip. We didn't get a grip, at least.
No,
when
the Oppo is primarily just the
Canon.
Yeah, the case with the adapter and the Canon. That was it.
But you do get a grip. So it's like Xiaomi, you get a grip.
Oh no, yeah, it's exactly this. I'm going to say like 95% the same as the X200 Ultra. So you get a case, the attachment ring, the grip, the basically adapter for the lens, and then you get the lens.
And the grip has a battery in it?
The grip has a small battery in there. I think it's like maybe 1,000 milliampere. Nothing major. It's mostly so that it doesn't drain your phone as you're using it. So to keep the balance. But the Ultra included an L mount bracket for the lens that you were able to use on a tripod, where the Pro and the Standard don't. You actually get to use the grip, the hand grip that you're talking about, as the actual, it has the mounting, the tripod mounting option at the bottom of it. So it ends up being kind of more leverage on the side than it is to the center. For me,
the Oppo does have the L mount, which is cool.
Yes, and I appreciated that.
I showed that on the video last week. Yeah.
I was going to show mine, but mine is actually mounted on the L mount.
I didn't realize you also had the X300 for some reason. Anyway, great.
I covered it in the video as well. I showed some of the differences. Like an example would be basically if you get the Chinese variant, you're going to see the Vivo dialer in the Vivo App Store installed on the phone, as well as you can obviously sideload Google. On the global variant, there's no Vivo Store and there is no Vivo dialer. You're using the Google dialer as well as Google Messages. There's more of a Google-esque focused experience.
I mean, that's typical of Chinese ROMs versus non-Chinese ROMs. Like I've had that experience before.
I mean, in the past, it was just because they had them separated with FunTouch and then Origin. Now that it's Origin, there's still a little bit of variance between those. Yeah.
Got it. Yeah.
Don't want to prolong the whole thing. But yeah.
You know the one I'm really excited about? Because, here's the thing. The preamble to this is this hasn't been unusual this year. The Realme flagship, right? So the Realme flagship is always called GT something Pro.
Yeah.
They skipped 6, or if there was a 6, I don't remember it happening for very long. But we had a GT5 Pro was Snapdragon 8 Gen 3, and then GT7 Pro last year was
the
8
Snapdragon
Elite.
8 Elite,
And in fact, it was the first 8 Elite phone I got. Remember the orange one? It looked like the iPhone orange, right?
Even the box that we got said 8 Gen 4 before it was rebranded to be the 8 Gen 8 Elite.
Exactly. Phone, and so the reason I'm bringing these up is because now there's obviously a GT8 Pro now.
Yeah.
And so, that's fine. But what I'm kind of excited about is that usually all those GTs always come this close to being as good as the OnePlus, at least the specs we know of so far. Right? Yeah. But now that the GT8 Pro is official, we know that it's better than the OnePlus, which is insane. Unless we get a different OnePlus in the US.
I was about to say, unless OnePlus not decides, like they're
But now that they've confirmed that the Chinese model has 3 50 megapixel cameras, the OnePlus, the GT has the 200 megapixel 3x telephoto. So right there, it's better. And to be clear, with the OnePlus 12 compared to the GT5 Pro 2 years ago, the only difference between these two phones, they had the same processor, same display with slight curves still back then, same cameras, except for one thing. The ultra wide was detuned to a basic 8 megapixel ultra wide, kind of like what the Oppo Find N5 folding phone did, when it came from Find N3, OnePlus Open to. So it wasn't as good as the OnePlus 12. And last year, with the OnePlus 13, comparing that to the GT7 Pro, they were identical almost, except it didn't have wireless charging on the Realme.
But it had 7,000 milliamperes in battery.
But it had a big battery.
It had the bigger.
But it had the fast charging and a big battery. But my point I'm making is that it was never quite as good. To me, if you don't have wireless charging, you're not a flagship. I'm sorry. Like, it has to have wireless charging. But lo and behold, the GT8 and GT8 Pro have been announced now officially. And if you look at the specs, there's wireless charging at 50 watt and a big, massive battery and a 200 megapixel telephoto and no compromise on the ultra wide. And it's an 8 Elite Gen 5 and the same display. It's basically everything. And it's got that perk where there's little hex screws in the back. You can Yeah, the camera pod, like what surrounds the camera lenses can be removed with different, like you can 3D print your own or whatever.
If you don't want a square, you can go, circle, you can go square, you can, like you said.
Star shape, they have plastic ones, they have metal ones. It's cool.
I'll say this, the 7 Pro last year blew my mind. And then
it's
the 7,
great phone.
They officially launched the 7 in the middle of summer, I think, in Paris, which we got the standard, the it's odd how they did the 7 Pro and then the 7. But the short answer, the collaboration that they did there, even with Formula One, was really, really nice. The colors, it just, they're coming around. They're really starting to get into more of a groove. Because for a while we had like some times where Realme would just disappear for a while and then come back. So the cameras right now are getting better. They have a collaboration with a studio as well for their color science. That was one of the other things when we were comparing
is their collaborate.
Yeah.
You know, Ryko is like a long-time camera company, so that's cool.
They're coming. They're basically, it's the story that we always want to be able to hear, how they get better, bigger, and over time. Last year and the years before, where OnePlus still had Hasselblad, I felt like they had a little bit of an edge. We still obviously need to see a little bit more about the new imaging system that OnePlus is going to be using with the 15 series. That could also change the conversation a little bit from what Oppo's doing, since Oppo's continuing with Hasselblad, but OnePlus isn't. And Realme is going in with, obviously, they're just improving their experience. So once we have all 3 devices, it's going to be a crazy experience to see where our favorite, where the little things that they do that make us lean one way over the other. Because like you said, it's very close. They're pulling from the same parts, but Ben, let's just be realistic. This is,
I mean, that's exactly, it's parts
the
spinning
same
at its
family.
best. Yeah,
it's
100%.
Yeah, but it just, we haven't seen it in real time. Usually there's a delay. There's a little bit of a delay. Typically, like, you'll get slightly different things. Or where they get that microscope camera one time where the Oppo Find X5 had, and then they brought in the year after, and then Oppo left that one. So little things like that, but it's exciting. I'm happy to see, I want to see what the global variants of them, especially for OnePlus and for Realme, because I think the ones that we're hearing about are primarily China right now.
Yeah, the GT8 so far and GT8 Pro are China only. Just so the differences are the display is the same size and same specs. The battery is the same size and same specs, 7,000 milliamp hour. The Pro gets wireless charging, which the regular doesn't have. The Pro gets the double 50 and telephoto at 200, whereas the regular gets a double 50 and 8 megapixels. The ultra wide's an 8 megapixel. So, and of course, doesn't have the 200 megapixel periscope telephoto, just a 50. And then the processors are slightly different too. This is a Snapdragon 8 Elite on the regular, and then you get the Gen 5 on the Pro.
That's not bad.
It's not bad, but the pricing, of course, is China pricing is insane, right? 480 euros for the Pro and 350 euros for the regular, which is wow.
Yes, the market competition in China is a lot higher. Like even the X300 and X300 Pro. A lot of my comments on my videos were like, "Hey, I'm waiting for my Chinese ones coming in. Should I get the Chinese one? Should I wait for the global? I mean, should I save some money and go with the China?" Honestly, the X300 has been working great. The fact that you have eSIM support, I mean, mine also has like Play services on it. The V-Store is on it because you get, again, this is where you get to see the 2 different variants. I feel like you get a little bit better of an experience because having access to other Play stores could also help you, download applications in case there's potential, where things are not available for some reason or another, you can download them from other applications. So I love the flexibility. Oppo still, is for me, the vanguard of the trio that we're talking about, because they always are they set the standard, and I think usually OnePlus and Realme you kind of follow. I'm hoping this continues this year, but yeah, it looks like Realme and OnePlus are playing the same game at this point, like almost like head to head at this point. So we'll have to see.
Yeah, and I think like if you look at the specs on this GT8 Pro, we're looking at essentially almost the same as the Oppo Find X9 Pro, but with a Snapdragon instead of MediaTek. It's got that 200 megapixel. It's got the wireless charging. It's got a very similar display, at least from what we know, rumor-wise, on the Oppo, because we don't know the specs for real. But it's Quad HD, which is like, wow, Quad HD, really? Most of them at 1220p on these phones, right? So
they usually slightly higher than 1080, but it's like I said, they're coming along. This is their vanguard. This is their flagship for the year. So they release it now. I know, but I always
felt like Oppo was keeping them at bay. You know what I'm saying? Like they were keeping Realme just like, you can't be as good as us and as OnePlus, and now we're finally the first time we're breaking out of that.
Yeah. I mean, well, they're not, because I think for the most part, internationally, they don't really compete that much with each other. They're in different markets.
Yeah, it's true.
They do a good job of segregating the presence in different markets and different areas. So it's actually not bad. It's good for the brand. It shows diversity. It shows also that you have options. You don't have to go with, specifically one brand. You can go with something maybe a little bit better, a little bit cheaper. Also, Realme does a lot of collaborations, more so than OnePlus and Oppo. So it actually
That's true.
helps if you like.
I've got the Game of Thrones phone. We talked about it last week. I showed it to you guys. So, Realme 15 Pro Game of Thrones. It's super cool. Nice
absolutely.
And by the way, I keep forgetting to mention this. I forgot to mention this in my unboxing video too. It's like, because I didn't know when I unboxed it, I had no idea. I didn't have any specs or anything. If you heat up the back with like a, hair dryer or something, it turns red. The leather, the fake leather back, that looks like black leather and has the grain on it, turns red. It's really cool. I didn't know that.
Yeah,
so
that was,
just want to mention that.
That was a nice one. At the time when I was doing the unboxing and the video on that one, unfortunately I did not. So I learned that later, but it absolutely,
same. I wish they had told us.
They've done, it's something that I've appreciated from them, because they also did the cool effect one, the one that when you cool it down,
I have that one, but at least they told us about that one, so I was able to test it right away.
But it's still, if you're a fan of Game of Thrones, it is the ultimate fan edition device.
I still have the Pepsi phone.
I never got the Pepsi phone.
It's great.
Oh my god! But I have the Dragon Ball and I have the Naruto, so I'm cool.
Wait, I have the Dragon Ball. I think. Which one was it that opened in this cylinder that opened like a book?
That's the Naruto one.
That's the one I have.
Yeah, so it's a scroll. It's a ninja scroll.
Correct.
So they did that one not that long after they did the Dragon Ball one. So they did those two franchises. I wish they did Demon Slayer, because that would have been really nice to time it with the movie. But they still have opportunities. There's still episode 2 and 3 from the season finale. But yeah, so what I meant to say is Realme is by far the one that does the most collaborations, and they do them amazingly well, like so beautiful. So definitely keep an eye out for them. Very good in the global market for sure.
So within a week, we got 2 new phones from the Nubia ZTE universe. Of course, we got a Redmagic.
Yeah. So Redmagic, I think
we got a Redmagic 11 Pro
in China.
Plus and Pro, and we've got a Nubia Z780 Ultra as well. And of course, these are related, right? They have the same crazy monolith chassis that I love so much. The same borderless display with very thin bezels and under display front-facing camera, selfie camera.
Redmagic has been doing that in both the Z series.
And of course, they have a Snapdragon 8 Elite Gen 5, which is the whole reason they were launched and announced. I haven't had a chance to look and to see the specs on the camera on the Nubia are very similar to the specs on the Z70 Ultra, right?
Oh, okay.
I mean, it looks like it. It's 50 megapixel, 35 millimeters, so less wide main sensor with OIS. The cameras matched last year, basically. I'm saying 64 megapixel periscope telephoto, 2.7x OIS. That sound like and the ultra wide is 50 megapixels. It looks like the same camera system to me. We get large 7200 milliamp hour battery. You get wireless charging on that one, which is not on the Redmagic. Actually, one of the Redmagics has wireless charging. I think it's the first Redmagic with wireless charging.
That is surprising, actually. Wireless
charging.
And then,
of course, massive screen. As I said, under display camera, all that. So the difference between the Nubia Z, which is more of a flagship, and the gaming phones is, of course, the fan.
Of course.
These are the first phones, apparently, the Redmagic 11, with liquid cooling inside. Like not vapor chamber, actual liquid cooling.
Do you did you ever get a chance to get hands-on the OnePlus liquid cooling one they did at MWC
a few
years back? Yeah. That when I saw those pictures and stuff like that, I had such a flashback to that. Because it is absolutely something that OnePlus should have brought to market. Like that should have been released at the time. But I'm happy to see Nubia and Redmagic leveraging that type of technology for those devices, because I think those are great things, especially for gamers, because you're going to be pushing these devices. You're going to be putting them through their paces. Anything help, especially with the backing where the battery is. I think that'll be really nice. And they also still have the iconic fan, which again, the only phone on the market that still carries built-in fans.
Yeah, and it's spinning at a faster speed than ever before, because it seems like it's never enough for them. They just keep having to crank up that speed. And they're sending me an 11 Pro, not Pro Plus review unit. So I should have that soon, folks. I already have the tracking number for it, so it's coming. So stay tuned for that. But what I'm excited about here is that they're very similar, like with that Nubia Z80 Ultra, like same display, same processor, so the 8 Elite Gen 5. We have, the cameras are very different because one is a gaming phone and one is a flagship camera phone. So but again, in the same way as the Nubia appears to have the same cameras as last year's Z70, the Redmagic 11 and 11, Pro. The Plus have the same dual 50 megapixel cameras and that 2 megapixel sticker cam macro as last year the Redmagic 10 had. So the only differences that I can see here immediately are that, and by the way, they're for the first time water resistant, IPX8. So they're not dust resistant in any way. They have the X, but they're water resistant. It means those fans can run underwater, or maybe they stop running.
That was the first thing
they stopped running, but.
Yeah, I'm assuming that the resistance on the water will
exactly.
stop.
But they're not. They probably notice the resistance and turn off the fan because they can measure the torque. But they doesn't damage the fan, which is kind of interesting.
That's nice.
And damage the internals of the phone, which is interesting. Now both of them have big batteries, but here's the interesting thing: the regular Pro 11 Pro has a 8,000 milliamp hour battery with 80-watt charging. The 11 Pro Plus has a 7,500 milliamp hour battery with 120-watt charging, and as I said, for the first time on a Redmagic phone, 80-watt wireless. 80-watt wireless. Wow.
Yeah, they had to compromise a little bit of space for the wireless charger.
Yeah, for the wireless charger. Yeah, but that's actually really cool. I think that finally, we have a flagship gaming phone that can wirelessly charge.
Especially from a gaming experience, and I'm hoping they still have they have the video out option on there as well. Just giving us the ability of just leveraging the bigger displays, controller support. I know they have a lot of gaming focused accessories that they always launch as well. Like I think last year they had a controller that came out at the same time, and even a cooler that even has RGBs.
Yeah, there was an extra cooler if you really wanted to. Yeah.
Yeah. So, no, exciting.
Look, I'm a big fan of the Redmagic phones, and even though I'm not a gamer, I appreciate them. The performance is always off the charts, and more importantly, the software has gotten quite a bit better over the years, and they're at least listening to our feedback because, oh man, the early days were rough. Do you remember that?
It was hardware first and full throttle always, and I think you're right. As time went on, they've put a little bit more love into the software experience. It's getting better, and I think. My last experience I did with them was with the 10 Air. That was the last gaming phone that I got a chance to play with them.
Oh, I never got the 10 Air. I got that other one they did that didn't have a fan, the Redmagic 6R or 6T or 6S, the one that was just a flagship. Remember that?
Yeah, so the Air was similar to that. It did not have an active fan into it. It's been a few years now since I've had their flagship gaming phones from my days at XDA. So I'm hoping I'll probably see if I can work into try to get my hands on the 11 Pro or you said the Pro Plus, I'm assuming.
Yeah, they're sending me the Pro, and when you got your PR announcement, there's a link in there for a form for review. So just fill it out. Interestingly, the Redmi K90,
the K90
Pro Max is coming, and the K series for Redmi has always been their flagship. Now, interestingly, it's not called Pro Plus or Ultra, it's called Pro Max. And that's a kind of echoes, I feel like, what Xiaomi did with the 17 Pro Max, which so the entire Xiaomi group, because Redmi is part of Xiaomi group, it's kind of like what Realme is to Oppo. Redmi is making a flagship with an 8 Elite Gen 5 and a subwoofer. The sound system has a big speaker in the back for bass and two other small speakers left and right, basically, for
I really hope that does get rebranded to a global variant, because typically that's what they do with the K series.
Co-branded with Bose too, which is interesting.
Oh, okay. Yeah. Okay. I'm listening.
So here are the quick specs. Triple 50 megapixel. The 5x for the telephoto, which is not the trend of 3x. OIS on the main and telephoto, it looks like solid camera setup. We've got a big battery, 7,560 milliamp hour. We get wireless charging at 50 watt, wired at 100. We get of course, that Snapdragon, the Elite Gen 5. We're getting, nice display as 1220p LTPO, 6.9 inch, pretty big. And yeah, it's it's nice. And, of course, like all the K series is going to be really affordable, roughly 500 euros in China when it comes out. Add $100 to that. That's what I always say if you want to get a global price. And and like this 2.1 Bose sound system, which is interesting. I think
that's going to be crazy
great
for people that love to listen to music off their phones. I mean, we already have loud enough phones. I'll say that a lot of the flagships right now already have very good
the iPhones right now, the 17 Pro and Pro Max, and the Pixels in particular. Oh my God, the 10 Pro XL are incredible at speakers. Like I am blown away by the sound quality on these phones.
I'll have to fire it up. I've tested out the speakers and they sound
amazing.
A lot of them sound very, very good, but I haven't done like a straight up comparison between the two. But I'll definitely check out the 10 Pro XL. That's the one I ended up getting. But yeah, sure.
Yeah. So if you're in a market that sells the K90, not Ultra but Pro Max, and you're okay with a phone that looks a little generic, a little boring, other than the subwoofer in the back. I mean, this is something to check out. I think, Redmi is really known for being an affordable brand, and they're not skimping on anything. It's rare that they have wireless charging on Redmi phones. So this is nice. And then it's rare that they go for the higher end chips like right away like that, so
they're usually more running like mid-rangers because they released the Redmi Pad 2 Pro at the same time as the T series with Xiaomi. So the difference between what I love about Redmi and Xiaomi is they're a lot closer related to each other than it is with like Realme and OnePlus and Oppo. Like you'll never see an Oppo or OnePlus at the same place as a Realme or some sort. But Redmi actually, they are very consciously bringing them together. Like at the launch event, there was a section for the Redmi accessories and the Redmi, I think was it the tablet that was released, and I think I want to say some buds, but I'm not 100% sure on that.
Right.
But I love how they did it at MWC. They did the same thing. They would launch things alongside their main flagship experiences that Xiaomi brings in. So very nice. Very good, and I cannot wait for this to come globally. It'll probably get rebranded, as I said, but more than likely we'll see this experience with the subwoofer, maybe in a slightly higher version, maybe higher spec version.
Or maybe we'll see it on Poco, because Poco is another brand of Xiaomi, and Redmi and Poco are like almost the same most of the time. So their flagships almost match. So I'm getting a new Poco phone very soon. I don't know what it's about. I have nothing. No info on it, but stay tuned for that. So it could be that the K90 gets rebranded as a Poco phone sometimes coming up. And maybe or maybe not, it will have the subwoofer. Who knows? I would love to try it out though. So stay tuned. Last week I forgot to mention when we talked about Honor and that crazy robot gimbal thingy.
Oh yeah. It
was so great. That thing is awesome. I forgot to talk about the Honor Magic 8 series, which is their latest flagships. They came out last week, and
the 8 and the 8 Pro. Yeah,
correct. We have some specs here, so I just want to quickly go through that. I don't have them. I'm not sure if you'll get them or not, but
I'm hoping. I'll definitely reach out. I know some of our friends have them. Unfortunately,
I believe so. Yeah. It's not going to come out in the West for a while. I think these are Chinese launches right now.
Yeah, as usual. They usually Honor has, I think, a few creators or basically people that are picked to get access to the early hardware to be able to showcase some of that. But
so the big differences here are they're both flagships. They both have the Snapdragon 8 Elite Gen 5. They both have, LTPO panels and great cameras and massive batteries, of course. 7200 global, 6200 for the Europe only model. This is for the Pro, and then 7000 for the regular. And they both have wireless charging and wired charging at high speed.
Of course.
The differences are display size. So there is a slightly smaller display on the regular versus the Pro. And then the camera is also quite a bit different. So 6.7 inches versus 6.5, or they're very similar. 6.5 is almost 6.6. So it's,
I was about to say that those are pretty close in sizes. Yeah,
they're pretty close, but they're slightly different, which is interesting. And then the cameras here are 50, and of course that 200 megapixel telephoto, 3.7x, and then we have another high resolution ultra wide, as you'd expect. So this is cool. 50, 50, and 200 on the Pro, 50, 50, and 64. The telephoto is a 64 on the regular 3X. So, I think that Honor makes some great stuff. I think that the folding phones, though, are kind of I'm more excited about those, to be honest. Although the cameras are really good on these flagships usually. So I'd love to get my hands on one if anybody at Honor is listening. We'll see how it goes.
Ditto,
and I love that they have the pill on the Pro. They still have that pill-shaped cutout for the front camera system.
They're leveraging, again, their hardware game is on point. It's been there for many, many years, and I really appreciate what they do with their especially with their I think their flagship. I think the 8 and the 8 Pro are going to be basically what they carry for the rest of the year. I mean, they'll come with other versions like the number series and so on, but this is basically what they're setting their path for 2026. So it's great to see where they're launching. Hopefully the global launch won't be too late, maybe before the end of the year. I mean, I say that with the understanding that October basically has a week left, just about a week left, just before, Halloween. And then we're in November. And then, like you said, we're going to start seeing some more devices come out. Dimensity,
and then it'll be CES, and then we'll have the Samsung phones, and in rinse and repeat.
Exactly. Yes.
And don't forget the best part of the year, MWC.
MWC, leading up to a beautiful MWC. Because I think MWC for me is like the crown training experience, right? Because you get to see everything that launched just a couple of months before, but you'll have demos for everything. Like the things that even if you don't get the devices, you'll get a chance to go talk to people.
And then you get the concepts, and you get some car coverage as well there, because every now and then, like Xiaomi always brings their cars.
I'm hoping Xiaomi next year will let us drive the car. I just want to, because we got to sit in the car. Okay, like they're really teasing us. The year before we got to see the car.
Yeah.
This year we got to sit in the car. And if I'm not mistaken, according to their social media, in 2027, they're launching the SU7 in Germany. So it's going to be available in Germany as a car that you can buy.
That's it. I'm moving back to Europe.
So I was going to say, like, we're like one step away. We just need to get back. It's like, hey, buddy, can I'd like it for the weekend. Is it possible? I'd like to spend the weekend driving on the Autobahn. That's just nothing.
There's a Zeekr 001 FT or whatever, the super fast one that they showed at CS last year. Mm-hmm. Somewhere in the Bay Area, I see it from time to time. And I've reached out to Zeekr PR saying, what's going on with that? Can I borrow it? Because some journalists have had their hands on this particular car. And I'm just like, But anyway, I'm hoping, and I've mentioned this on the podcast before, that now that, our regime is imposing tariffs and messing with things, that Canadians, who are still an independent country, in case you didn't know, are going to decide to import Chinese cars and let the Chinese build factories in Canada, because we have a big workforce of auto workers in this country. I'm in Vancouver right now. You know that half the time I'm there and half the time I'm in San Francisco, but today I'm in Vancouver. And so that's why I'm saying here, in Canada, we have auto workers, and right now they depend on the US. And so I think that I'd like to believe that within a year or 2 or 3, we're going to start seeing Chinese cars in Canada, made in Canada.
I really hope.
And that puts pressure on the US, hopefully, because, I saw an article this week that's actually really interesting. I can't remember who wrote it, but one of the mainstream tech publications, that there was a survey done with Americans, US customers, about their awareness of Chinese EVs and what they thought of them. And every year they do the same survey, and it went off the charts this year. Like, people want them. People want them. So I think we're at the point where, obviously it's not going to happen with the regime we have, but if Canada can exert pressure, Mexico is already exerting pressure, Europe is exerting pressure, it's just only a matter of time. I don't wish any ill will on any of the auto workers out there that are working hard. And, I believe in unions. I believe in people, being happy. But the reality here is the car industry in the US is messed up. Like, they're not innovating. They're not following the path of the rest of the world. Even the Europeans have a hard time. And if it takes the Chinese to, kick our butts a little bit, I think that's healthy. In the same way as it's healthy for us to get access to all these Chinese phones and report about them for y'all, right? Because that gives you a reality check. Those of you who are listening to this podcast right now are the early adopters, the tech-savvy folks that are recommending phones to your friends and family, and you care about what's happening in China, even if, especially because you can buy some of these phones abroad. They're global models for everything. So
exactly.
I think it's really important that the same thing is happening in the car world. Let's talk about the Galaxy XR, the Samsung Vision Pro competitor that undercuts by half the price. The Vision Pro is lighter and seems to have, in my opinion, at least initially more appeal, mostly because I'm more invested in the Google ecosystem. My iPhones are filled with Google apps, and because of Gemini. Gemini AI is pretty awesome.
I was going to say it's heavily leveraging Google. It's a very googly, for the lack of a better term,
very googly.
Samsung. It's a very googly Samsung XR headset that.
This is a good thing.
Well, no, but this is what we've been wanting from the Vision Pro in the first place. We wanted it to be lighter. We wanted it to be portable. Like bring it in. I compared it to obviously the Quest 3 because of some of the aesthetical comparisons that you can see there from the case, the process, the way it's designed a little bit.
Yeah, of course.
It needs to be light. It cannot be. And it needs to have a good battery. It needs to be able to last. It needs to have the same functional options that we've seen with Vision Pro. And I mean, again, we saw that there was an update. Actually, I don't know if Samsung and Apple are doing this coincidentally at the same time.
Last week we talked about the M5 update, but it's just the M5. Yeah. And 120 hertz refresh instead of maxing out at 100, which I think was happening before. But I think, look, the Vision Pro, once you're in the Apple ecosystem, makes sense. Especially if you're like a developer, early adopter, you have the money, whatever. But for me, I'm not talking about for me again. I said the same thing last week, right? I'm not into the face hugger. The future is the glasses. Meta is winning this battle right now. Even if the product is, the Meta display glasses, right? The Ray-Ban Meta display, whatever. Like, even if that's just one eye and it's early on and it does very basic things and the battery life is like, this is how we start. And to me, this is way more exciting than any face hugger VR display. Now, that being said, if you're going to have, for those of you who work out with a Quest 3 or something, if you're going to have that and you want to make it not a niche product, you want to make it something that's a little bit broader than it is today, I think that what Samsung has shown here, collaboration with Google, with the Galaxy XR is nailing it. They nail it.
Qualcomm chipset.
Yeah, of course. XR2. On top of that, they're nailing it because it's like, it's pricey, yes, but like it's still kind of cheaper than a Galaxy Z Fold 7.
No, I was about to say, it's like, they kind of priced it at the Z Fold 7 pricing.
It's expensive, but it's manageable, I'd like to say.
It is.
And more importantly, it's comfortable and lighter to wear, which for me has been a big issue with the Vision Pro the few times I tried it. And on top of that, I don't know. It's like you have a much broader potential of applications, because the ecosystem isn't as narrow, right? Like I like the Apple ecosystem. I'm not heavily invested in myself, but I like what they're doing for the right people. But those of us who've tasted the goodness of Gemini fully integrated on our devices, like, my Pixel Watch 4 or my,
and it's even on the OnePlus watches as well. Gemini, I mean, the exclusivity was a short one.
Like, I know I'm a bit of a fangirl, but not as much as Scott. But see Scott Brown. But look, the point I'm making is that I admit that I'm a fan, but I could live without a Pixel phone and I'd have a choice. And I think that having, Samsung, not Google, make this headset is telling. And I think that's a good sign.
I appreciate it. And then, like I said, I'm very big on the way the aesthetics of the design, the fact that you can use controllers if you want to, you don't have to. It does hand tracking.
Choice.
You have the option. And even at that point, again, like we talk about the price point, it's about half the price of what you're getting there. If you want to be able, even just to kind of get in. Like,
if you're a developer, this is a no-brainer.
This is absolutely. But if you're also true about XR wanting to be in like multitasking to the next level, working with your system, leveraging multi-window, but still be in an environment where you're working. I mean, taking what Quest does, but even taking it to the next level, I feel
it's
like
exactly
this is
that.
The ecosystem is just begging for you to try it out. And just for reference, if you live in an area near a Samsung store, I think starting next week, if I'm not mistaken, or even this week, you can schedule time to go into the store and then do a demo. So check it out. See if this is something that would be interesting for you. So it's really exciting to see that it's there. And I think for sales, it doesn't start selling till the end of the month, if I'm not mistaken, like till the 31st, roughly around that time.
So if you're into a face hugger and you've kind of gone beyond what your Quest 3 can deliver, and you can't afford a Vision Pro or don't want to, this is your ticket. This is the one to check out right now. Galaxy XR. We should wrap up. Listen, TK, can you tell folks where they can find you on the internet, your various social media handles, and more importantly, tell them about the YouTube channel? It's so awesome.
So for me, first and foremost, I'll say is everywhere on the internet, just look up for TK Bay, or I would say just let the beard guide you. But
that's right.
On Twitter and Instagram is TKDSL8655 and TK Bay on YouTube. Just easy, simple, detail level videos that you can enjoy. It's something I used to say, just get a cup of coffee, a little snack, sit down and enjoy the deep dive that we get to do. I really enjoyed using the X300 Pro and the X300, and I shared a lot of detail there. It's one of my longest videos, but it's doing very well on the channel, so I'm happy with that. A lot of support from that. And yeah, I love tech, as Miriam said, and we always love to chat and talk, as we love to catch up once in a while. So check it out, hit me up, and let me know what you guys think, of course.
Absolutely,
and
folks.
Thank you for having me on the show.
No problem. Check out TK's work. The videos are great. Check him out on social. Follow him everywhere. You know where to find me on the internet. I'm at Tankgirl, TNKGRL. It's my handle everywhere. And, I'm mostly active on Threads, Instagram, Blue Sky. I have a TikTok now with my birth year, TNKGRL69. So go check that out. And, I'm not very active there, but it's just, I needed to try it out, and it's doing okay. So, hey, why not? There's a YouTube channel for the podcast as well, youtube.com/mobile tech podcast. You'll see some unboxing, some hands-on, some extracts of the podcast. Like I'll grab a 10-minute chunk that's interesting and put it on there from time to time. So, you know how YouTube works. Like, subscribe, tell your friends, click the bell, youtube.com/mobile tech podcast. That's where it's at. The podcast itself lives at mobiletechpodcast.com. Really easy to remember. So if you want to subscribe, we're on all the major platforms. All your podcast apps are supported. All your providers, Apple Podcasts, Spotify, YouTube Music. I'm everywhere. So please subscribe if it's your first time here, and tell your friends about it, right? And if your app lets you rate or review the show, please consider doing that. There's a Patreon. I mentioned it halfway through the show here, patreon.com/TNKGRL. I select my handle, so patreon.com/TankGirl. Again, you can get a video of this podcast a day in advance for $5 a month every week. So a day in advance every week, $5 a month gets you a video version. You get to see our faces. You get to see us handling phones and showing devices. So go to patreon.com/TNKGRL and join if you can. Support me if you can. I'd appreciate it. And I also want to thank our sponsor, Mint Mobile. I review a lot of phones, so I'm constantly juggling multiple devices. While that's fun, it also means I'm spending a lot of money for wireless service on multiple SIMs. Thankfully, there's Mint Mobile, and that's who I'm teaming up with for today's podcast. If you want to save money on your wireless service, switch to Mint Mobile. You've probably seen the Mint Mobile ads featuring Ryan Reynolds, but let me quickly tell you how fantastic their service is, especially for tech-savvy early adopters like us. Mint Mobile offers premium wireless for as low as $15 a month, and you don't have to sacrifice any coverage, speed, or data. They're built on the nation's largest 5G network. They keep costs low because they sell direct to you online. They cut out the retail stores and salespeople. Why should you pay more than you have to for access to the same network? In my experience testing phones, Mint Mobile delivers the same data speeds and call quality as the big three for a fraction of the cost. Switching to Mint is super easy. Thanks to their eSIMs, you can sign up and activate immediately right on your phone from the comfort of your home. No more standing around waiting in line at a big wireless store. You can keep your current devices and phone number and easily switch services. And if your phone isn't eSIM compatible, Mint will ship you a new SIM card free of charge. The whole process only takes 15 minutes, and if you get stuck, Mint has a great customer service team to get you through it. All Mint Mobile plans include unlimited nationwide talk and text, plus lightning-fast 5G and free mobile hotspot. Mint will show you how much data you use each month and recommend plans that save you money. Mint also offers a modern family plan that lets you set up a super affordable family plan with as little as 2 lines. Use my link, mintmobile.com/mobiletech, to get premium wireless starting at $15 a month. Stop paying more than you need on your wireless bill and start saving big with Mint Mobile. And TK, thanks so much for being my guest again and nerding out with me. I appreciate it.
Always a pleasure. Always a pleasure. Thank you very much.
Fantastic. Folks, stay tuned. We'll have TK on the show again in the future, obviously. And then we'll have another podcast next week. We'll talk about the Oppo Find X9 Pro. So stay tuned for that. Until then, cheers, everybody.
Bye-bye.
This has been the Mobile Tech Podcast with Tank Girl, proudly presented by worldpodcasts.com. You can visit us online at mobiletechpodcast.com.